So it's true that Bradford Ferguson has been to the top of the world and made it back. Bradford, we'll talk about lemonade later, but you were where was the top of the world exactly?
I was in New York City at the One World Center, where you can go like very close to the top of that and have great views of New York City.
Yeah, I've been there. I was actually at the top of the other one too. Darn it. I hate to think about that, but I ate lunch at the top of that one years and years and years ago. Okay, so we are going to talk about, for those of you who are interested in hearing the story of a stock that went up 300% in 1 month, that will be near the end of our hour together. But right now, people are talking about a sentiment shift at Tesla. Do you see a sentiment shift? What do you think's happening? What do you think's changing the attitude, or how do you see the attitude changing the future of Tesla? I've already talked about it a couple of times on my show. I'd like to hear what you're thinking.
I'm seeing a little bit of a sentiment shift. We were thinking a couple of weeks ago that Tesla stock might have been topping out temporarily. And typically if a stock is topping out, it lasts there maybe a day or two.
Yes.
And here we are 2 weeks later. So that's it's pretty bullish, I would say that resistance may have become support in the stock. That's kind of a little bit what technical analysts would say. But it's unusual something topping out and like staying there for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I feel like sentiment is shifting a bit. Of course, we had that great news where, talking about a federal regulation for autonomous vehicles. Now, certainly Tesla does need to figure out the technology,
Mhm.
but beyond that, it could help accelerate the rollout of Robotaxi, where they won't need to go to every state and wrestle with them over the proper regulations. If they can get a federal regulation around autonomous driving, then they could be done instead of making it a multi-year process with different states and different vested interests and different rules. And some states will try and just stop them completely. So I think that's pretty bullish.
Yeah, that certainly was bullish. I mean, just the fact that he is that Elon is hobnobbing with all the top greats in the world right now, making decisions on these amazing levels, has to be a good thing, I suppose.
Yeah, and Trump's giving him proper recognition. So he saw the Starship launch that just happened. Was that Tuesday?
Mhm.
So, Biden never even mentioned it, or maybe once in passing, and Trump is visiting it personally. Also, um, I'm guessing Trump will be doing a visit of Giga Texas sometime during his presidency, or maybe even beforehand. And Elon's been almost like embedded in Mar-a-Lago. Instead of sleeping on the factory floor, he's um, hanging out with the president-elect and on all these different phone calls. Sundar Pichai of the CEO of Alphabet, or AKA Google. He called President Trump to congratulate him, and Elon Musk was on the line. So it's kind of awkward, but yeah, I think it's a really powerful position he's in right now.
I'm not one of the big Alex Jones fans. I've never really been a follower. I've watched him a couple of times for 15 minutes or so, and sometimes seen some of the headlines around him. He is on record right now as saying that Elon and uh, the past and future President Trump are currently trying to negotiate a settlement between the Ukraine and Putin. So what do you think about that news?
Um, I think it's good that they're beginning discussions. I don't think they can settle anything before Trump is officially president. But it's good for them to just understand where the different sides are coming from.
Okay, all right. So I want to talk to you about Robotaxi. I know you care a lot about Robotaxi, but there's been a couple of developments in the last few days. I kind of wanted to maybe put it here in a package. We all know that Tesla, we now know, I'm sorry, we now know that Tesla will have remote access for Optimus and Robotaxi. That was shown today with a job opening that's been put out where they are requesting somebody to come in to head up the remote access kind of, I guess, division or department or whatever. And this is on both Optimus and Robotaxi. I have certainly been believing that they would have remote access, and this would be part of how they would, work on Robotaxi. And I've also believed, and I've said it before, I think there'll be a person event that, at least in the beginning, for the first year or two, you will one way or the other be able, through your app or through the entertainment center, you'll be able to connect with a human if necessary, if all else fails. What do you think about this new news that there will be a remote capability?
Yeah, I think this is critical. I'm guessing it may already be there, but they definitely need to have a whole team around it. So you're going to have all these people that could take over the driving of the car, or at least like help it troubleshoot. Um, certainly you could train an AI to help solve problems that the car can't figure out. So the car might get stuck, not be really sure what to do. And then, potentially an AI could look and figure it out in like 90% of the cases what the car can do to get unstuck, and it can send that command. But maybe there's, certain cases where they would kick it to human review. Also there can be sticky situations. People mess with autonomous cars all the time.
Right.
And you need to handle those situations well. Same thing with Optimus, but maybe a little different. Even when you have it in a factory, maybe you have a minder of the robots that kind of like manages the robots, and if need be, can kind of like get into a suit or into a thing and have it move to where you need it, or do some training of Optimus and record that and use that to make Optimus better. Yeah, I think this is definitely a step in the right direction, and definitely needed. So I think that's a real positive sign. It's interesting they're doing it at the same time, but it makes sense because it's a similar technology. You're remoting into a robot.
Right, right, exactly. So, in the same vein, and by the way, these are things that I talked about 3, 4, 5 months ago that everybody laughed at me. But here's number two that they laughed at me even more. Not necessarily you. I don't remember you specifically, but Rains said today, Rains 1221, I think it is. He talked about he was in a snowstorm and a huge truck splashed massive amounts of snow onto his car, which obscured his visibility. And the car said, "Hey, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. You have to take over." So I personally, you probably have too in your driving career, I've been in fog where I had to open the door to see where the curb was. I've been in fog like that. All I wanted to do was get out get out of the lanes of traffic and get up against the curb, but there was no way I could have got there without opening the door. I've been in driving rain and driving snow where I could not see past the hood. I've been in sandstorms where I couldn't see past the hood, and especially out in Phoenix area. That area, they get these sandstorms that are incredible. Street conditions with black ice, flooding. These are situations where what's the car going to do? So I don't think that Tesla will allow car pickups. I don't think that the Robotaxi, I think the app, when you go to do it, if there's evidence of these kinds of issues in the area, I don't think there will be a pickup. I think they'll have those kinds of things will be off the table. And that would include certain kinds of roads or roads that are, troublesome, I think can be off the table.
Yeah, I think it makes sense that if the weather is too bad, that it would put a pause on trips. And certainly you don't want people stuck in cars. So like if the visibility is so bad that it needs to stop, it's not a great thing for people to be stuck in a car. Certainly if people want out, I think you should let them out, except if they're on the interstate, then maybe, maybe you don't do that. Um, so what was Rain saying again?
Rain basically says, that he thinks that Tesla. I don't know. Did he say? Did he have a conclusion? I don't remember now. He just said that the situation happened and it was of concern to him.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
how they might handle it.
how they
Yeah.
might handle it. Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the I don't think it's necessary any car be driving in situations where humans wouldn't be driving. Um, and I really hope that states or other areas don't mandate LiDAR because it's just not the combination of technologies. It just is not, it doesn't work well right now. Maybe it will in the future, but the more technology we rely on, the more it can fail or go wrong.
right.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, yeah. A third issue that people have been raising is the range issue. So, how's it going to charge? Where is it going to charge? Especially in the early days before they start putting out these pads, the inductive capabilities. How are they going to where are you going to take your car in the middle of the night to have it charged if you're putting your car out there? Is it always going to have to come back to your house? I mean, how's all that going to work? So anyway, I was thinking about this the other day, Bradford, and it seems to me that as soon as you get on your app and you put in, the car knows where, or the overall computer knows where you are, and now you put on where you're going. As soon as you do that, the car knows whether it can make that trip and get to a location where there is some kind of ability to be charged.
Right.
So it may not be that every single location has a human or an automated method or a Optimus or something to charge the car, but it will know, can it get the job done and still make it to one that maybe does have a human that can, put the charger in. That seems to me that would be not obvious, but because a lot of people are worried about it, but that would be my solution. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I think it's a non-issue for a lot of trips. People use it to do their commute, and I'd say a fair number of people do have a good amount of commute on the highway. But most cities, like that's not always at high speed. It could be bumper to bumper on the highway. I think a lot of rides are like 30 miles an hour or less. And then when that's the case, the range is excellent on electric vehicles and far better than the range at 70 or 80 miles an hour. So I think for a lot of trips, you don't really need a whole lot of range. Maybe it could be like 200 miles of range, and it could do a lot of driving with that. Or for like the Robovan that's over my shoulder here, that could have more range and it can go between cities.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have more batteries and be ready for that.
Well, and on the Robovan, and when you're talking about those kind of long trips, some of these major stops like Buttonwillow or whatnot, where you have 140 chargers, could easily have one attendant there who would be able not only to charge up automated vehicles, but also would be there for other problems that go wrong, things that go wrong or
Yeah.
where they're needed. So,
And
okay.
you also don't have to automate everything right away. Obviously you want to make it easier, but humans can be a bridge for
Yes.
us with our new technology.
Yeah, even if every single supercharger station had a human in, let's say in LA or whatever, as they start to go out, if every single supercharger in LA had a human, the total cost of that compared to the revenues would still be a very small number.
Hmm.
All right, I want to switch to Cybertruck sales because you mentioned this today on X. So Ross Garber apparently knows something that I don't.
Hmm.
Thinking maybe you know something that I don't. Do you have any news, any rumors, an inkling that the 2 million reservations have all been filled now, and that there's no more demand for Cybertrucks? Because Ross Gerber seems to think that there's no demand for Cybertrucks. What's going on?
Yeah, he's referencing the drop in price from 100,000 to 80,000. He's saying that there's, some challenge that they're facing with sales. Uh, I don't think there is. They did add a lease, so that's a sign that, they might sales might be a little weak at 80,000. But still, like, technically it's a little overpriced at 80,000. It's an awesome product.
Awesome.
But like compared to the Model Y, it doesn't compare, but like compared to the Model Y, it's a bit overpriced. Compared to the Model X, I'd say it's about right.
Mhm.
I think Cybertruck needs to land in between. Um, I don't know. I feel like Ross is just stirring up trouble because he owns a Cybertruck himself.
Oh, does he?
He
Okay.
said in the post, I think.
I see.
But maybe he has a Rivian because he wants to drive it to Canada or something for some reason. Suddenly,
I thought maybe he
it's a bit silly. I don't think there's any problem. People are noticing Cybertrucks in parking lots, but um, Tesla's trying to figure out the $7,500 tax credit. I think there's some uncertainty around that. I think that might be an issue for some people where they're looking at the $80,000. They think they might be able to get an extra 7,500 off,
right.
and we haven't gotten clarity on that. So people might be waiting for that. Um, so I think that might actually be the challenge, and maybe Tesla could just clarify for people so they know what to expect.
I know from myself, if I was the one running the show, I would want to sell as many of the higher priced product as I can before I move downstream. That's called skimming the cream. You always want to get that cream if you can. In the Cybertruck case, I think there's a lot of cream to be had. They've gone to Canada now. I think maybe have they started shipping to Mexico as well? Did I hear that the other day?
Yes, yeah.
So they got Canada and Mexico. There's other countries that apparently people want them in. Some people have even put them on containers and shipped them over themselves. So I'm guessing that if they chose to and they wanted to continue to skim the cream, they could even start going more international. But ultimately, uh, I'm still on the list. I haven't talked to a single, well, that's not true. I've seen a couple of people on X say that they finally bought their Model Y or whatever because they just couldn't wait, or maybe even a Ford, what's that thing called? Lightning.
Okay, yeah.
Some people, they just can't wait anymore. They've just waited as long as they can. They need a truck, and maybe when the time comes, they'll move up when they can get the 60,000 version. So as far as I know, I think there's a whole lot of people still waiting for their Cybertruck.
Hmm. Yeah, people criticize Tesla almost over anything. They criticized it when it was at 100,000. Now they're criticizing it at 80 for dropping it that much. It yeah, it seems a bit silly sometimes, the criticizing and over analyzing.
I know a little bit about lemonade. First of all, when I was a child, I did sell some out front my house. Of course, I did.
Hmm.
You might have also, my granddaughter recently was selling some. So I know a little bit about lemonade. I actually, I think I told you last time we talked about it that I looked at the company and the stock when it was really, really young, when it was really
Hmm.
starting out, and thought, there's some things I like about what they're doing here. But 300% in a month. No,
Yeah.
this is we're talking about Bitcoin levels here. What's in the world is going on with lemonade? Why did it pop so much? And what did you learn on your trip to New York City?
So Lemonade is a tech company that sells insurance, and they specialize in pet and renters insurance. The reason why it started to go up was that they had an earnings report and they reported that they were positive cash flow. So they're a company where they're pretty high R&D spend and headquarters spend, and they're if they didn't grow their business, they would just kind of keep losing money.
Hmm.
Um, but they're growing pretty rapidly, and they're about to move more forcefully into car insurance.
Hmm.
Um, so they're not a company that's like suddenly discovered AI. They've been doing AI for 7 years, like before it was cool. Um, so what they revealed at their investor day, which Matt and myself attended in New York City, was multiple things. So they revealed that with the telemetry data that they have, they're able to identify the top two-thirds of drivers who are better drivers. And they're the drivers that make all the money for insurance companies.
Ah.
And they will be able to offer them a 15% discount to what is typical in the United States, because they can identify them. Um, and what they found is the conversion rate when you offer that type of discount is 100 to 150% higher.
Wow.
So it makes it easier to get them as customers. Um, they really haven't tried to um, upsell or cross sell their current clients who are in pet and renters into car. But now that they have the data and they've done the testing, they're going to be doing that um, more forcefully starting next year.
Hmm.
Um, the other piece is that because they're cross-selling existing customers, their cost to acquire those new customers is essentially zero. Or maybe you pay $20 for a postcard campaign where you send people a postcard,
Right.
once a week for 11 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, so what you may not know is a lot of car insurance, like we see these ads all the time, and there's all the jingles and slogans and mascots for different car insurance companies. They typically spend $450 per customer. Now, if Lemonade can get them for close to zero, that's a huge advantage that they have.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
There's definitely a high cost of acquiring in all insurance. Some of my wealthiest friends here in West Los Angeles were in the insurance business in one way or another.
mhm. And they also did a live showing of their back office systems where they showed how efficient they were,
Hmm.
and they are using AI to answer emails.
Hmm.
And they went through several email responses and did pass and fail for them. And one of them where they did a fail, um, it didn't give a very friendly response. The person was like, "Yeah, I need to ensure my engagement ring. How do I go do that?" And it just gave a very cold response and told it where to go.
I see.
Whereas their chatbot is like very friendly and bubbly. So they gave it the correction, and what's different about their system is they want it to be deterministic, where it now does the new behavior,
Right.
and so they made their system where it does that. So the other thing it showed was on reviewing claims, the AI didn't correctly it failed portion of a claim and kicked that to human review.
Hmm.
Um, and a human in a legacy insurance company, they'd probably have to do that same review 100 or 1,000 times. But they train their system to correct that mistake so that it doesn't take that many times to really train the system. So they're really AI first and in saving a lot of cost from that. Um, they showed that their cost to resolve a pet insurance claim had dropped 70% over the last 4 years, just because of their technology. So really, I like them because they're keeping their costs low. Their costs have been flat despite growing their revenues by 50% as far as their overhead costs. That's a really big deal. And one of the things that's shocking with the stock shooting up is um, there's this company called S3 Partners, and they used to track short interest on Tesla. And
Uh-huh.
you all may remember that the short interest was 30% or higher in Tesla shares.
It was also the most shorted stock for years. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the case for Lemonade, where it's over 30%. And according to S3 Partners, we're not sure about today, but yesterday and before, there really hasn't been much net short covering. So there may have been some shorts that covered,
Yeah.
but there have been new shorts that have come in.
Well, that would
Um,
make some sense. I mean, okay, if I was going to short the stock, I'd short it now, not 3 weeks ago.
yeah. So there may be some people doing that.
Yeah.
Um, but that's really surprising. And they're flipping the switch where they're now cash flow positive. In a couple of years, they're going to be profitable. So you have the whole S&P inclusion
Yeah.
type thing that could happen if they continue to grow. Um, so even though it's gone up tremendously, it's still not, where we value the company. We released a valuation in March when the stock was around $16 of that we believe that present value is worth $82.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're on the way, but you're not there yet.
Yeah. We
Now,
don't think Wall Street's necessarily going to agree with us
right.
fully on this,
Yeah.
some kind of unending move to 80.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one of the things that's kind of funny is the CFO during his presentation just gave like a sample way to value the company, the stock,
Yeah.
and he said $80 a share on his sample valuation. It was he didn't value it the same way we did.
Uh-huh.
But they also provided Wall Street with some ways to value it because um, they're just not valuing it properly. They're used to looking at insurers that are already profitable,
Mhm,
that
mhm.
aren't really growing rapidly, and so um, they've forgotten the whole unit economics of insurance, and so they've given them the tools to do that. So there's been quite a bit of Wall Street upgrades, um, price upgrades.
So one of the things, of course, they have in common with Tesla is that they're in the car insurance business. And
Mhm.
and like Tesla, your point is that they are using data to change the way that they uh, what's the word? I'm forgetting it. Anyway, the way that they decide what the rates are.
Yeah.
So the way that they're rating the customer, and it's in a similar way to Tesla. Now they don't have quite as much data because Tesla has the actual data from their actual cars in terms of the way the car acted in an accident and the way that the consumer is driving on any given day. But they
Yeah,
still
Tesla has the video.
they have the video.
Yeah. So
So
Lemonade has they have telemetry and they say it's so good that they say they know. So if it's just someone with their phone,
uh
they say they know where that person is sitting.
I
So they
see.
know if that person is the driver or the passenger.
Okay.
Even if they put the phone in the console, you're based off of whether you get in the left or the right, it's a different reading on the accelerometer in the phone.
Wow. Wow.
They can also tell where you're sitting based off of the G forces during a turn. So apparently, whether you're sitting in the front or the back, the G forces are a little different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So my question though is, so they're using that methodology to set rates. And Tesla, using similar methodology,
Hmm.
has only been able to get into whatever it is, 30 something states. I think at this point, 20, for some reason, 20 are not willing to oh, and California, where they're able to sell, they haven't been able to switch to using this kind of method for rating the customer and charging the customer. Do you have any idea whether Lemonade is running into any of the same kinds of problems that Tesla is and getting into these various states and using this methodology?
Yeah, some of the states are different, and I think part of it is due to lobbying from Legacy
Okay.
Auto, who, they don't want to lose their best drivers to a company that can poach their best drivers using AI.
Right.
Um, so I think that's a chunk of it where there's a bit of, I don't know if it's regulatory capture.
Yeah.
Um, I think another reason why Tesla maybe slowed down is it's just been a very tough environment with inflation, slow car repairs, some things like that, where car insurance has been very difficult, even
Right.
for
Right.
um, good car insurance companies.
Yes.
Um, so they probably can't serve all 50 states. Lemonade's approved there, but they have to price it differently in different states. And the way California does it, I think Lemonade quit California,
Oh,
and I'm not sure if they came back yet.
yeah.
Maybe they've come back, but um, they had to pause serving California for a bit.
Yeah, it's really, we need a new governor here. So, so the other thing that I've always been concerned about with Tesla's insurance, and I'm assuming this will be the same thing, obviously, with Lemonade, is because they don't offer homeowners. They do offer renters, which is good, but they don't offer homeowners. And they probably don't offer umbrella packages or whatever. So the bundling problem. So I had, two rentals in my own house and two cars and an umbrella all in the same bundle, and that was saving me a lot of money. I got rid of one of my cars. We only have one car now, and man, the price of my the price of my insurance for the Tesla went up like crazy. Uh,
Mhm.
so the bundling problem, is that going to slow them down, or do you think they'll get into homeowners and umbrellas?
They seem less interested right now in homeowners. I think that's a valid question for Lemonade, longer term. So, will they get back? What will that look like? I think for now, their audience is very young. So I think over around 70% of their customers are 35 or younger.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, um, most people aren't homeowners until like maybe
Yes.
their early 30s, or that kind of thing. So I think it's fine for now, but it's definitely a concern that they probably need to figure that out so they can offer those bundling discounts.
All right. So all that AI talk makes me think. I talked about with Jeff a little bit last night, but I'm curious to get your take. With the individuals who are going to be part of Doge, the Doge Committee. Uh,
Hmm.
I wanted to call it the Doge Commission, but apparently they're going with committee. So the Doge Committee, these people are, at the upper levels of AI. Obviously, Elon Musk, but
Hmm.
but Vivek also, and some of these other individuals that are probably going to be involved are really, really strong at AI. Do you think there's any hope that we can change the way that we're gathering the data in order to make decisions about the economy? The way that we gather data to make decisions about, how Treasury works and how the Fed works and such as that. Do you think that's even on their list? Or because to me, this is it's very close to being a sin, the way that we collect it now, given the
Mhm.
ways that we now have available.
Yeah, I think they're going to be using AI to speed up the process to find regulations that they can cut, to find waste and find expense and find things where the government's doing stuff that they're not even, the legislation doesn't even allow them to do, but they just set up this bureaucracy. So I hope it becomes a model or a blueprint um, for future stuff with the government. As far as collecting data, I think we're only going to become better at collecting data as a society. I believe data is our black gold of the current time. Data is what drives all the insights we're getting from AI. Data is what allows Lemonade to save money on their expenses with claims. Data is what allowed Tesla's version 12 to, basically get at least one order of magnitude better, if not two.
Yeah.
And that's came from 1.5 million videos. Um, and you know, using all that compute from NVIDIA to figure it all out. Um, I'm hopeful. I'm not holding my breath yet. People tend to like feel threatened with their jobs. AI, I think seems overwhelming to some people, but um, I've gotten a lot of value out of AI and using AI to do programming for data that we have here at Halter Ferguson Financial and rebellionaire.com.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, so I don't know if the Fed's going to start using AI to collect data, but I think they have a pretty good system for getting data. Um,
I think that one day uh, Chair Powell was asked a question in the uh, what do you call it, at the Fed, at the meetings where he gives his talks.
yeah,
Anyway,
the Fed meetings, yeah.
yes, he was asked about how many economists they have. I want to say that said they had 2,300 economists or something like that at the Fed.
Yeah. They
2,300.
need to automate that, right?
I was like, what are you even talking about? How
Yeah.
could you possibly need that many? So I think there's hope for maybe finding ways to get that number down a bit. And every one of those economists has got to have, an associate and a trainee and
Mhm.
a couple of other people sitting there putting data. I mean, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. All right, well, very interesting about lemonade.
We,
That is.
we need to get our government computers off of those old green screens.
What I said to Jeff last night, and so I'm repeating myself tonight, but in the 60s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, government was at the leading edge of the, the IBMs, all the rest. It was happening at the government. Those were going in
Mm.
first, and corporations were getting them later, and then finally it would filter down to the guy on the street. Now it's the guy on the street that's using it first, and then the corporations, and then finally the government maybe, and then they can't even get it right when they have these companies come in and spend $100 million to build a system and that never works. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just insane. So hopefully we could go back to where the government has the best equipment and the best utilization, the best ability to impact using the data. Anyway, we'll see what happens.
I got a tour of a air traffic control center, that a regional center where once planes are in the sky, they pass the plane from one region to another and route them around storms, those kinds of things. And it was really cool and impressive. And I think like people who like computer games would really enjoy work as a air traffic controller. You do need to be good with people because you have to deal with pilots and different towers and things like
Sure.
that. But it was pretty cool. But their systems are 20 years old.
20 years old.
Um, they work well, but they're 20 years old. And
Yeah.
I think they still use like strips of paper or something like that, um, or maybe the strips are on the screen now, but
Oh my goodness.
it's pretty antiquated.
It is crazy. It's crazy to think about. Yeah. All right. Well, anything else on Tesla today that you can think of that you're thinking about that's driving you crazy or making you happy? We're about, according to you, we're about to see where the spring is reloaded and now we can go forward again.
Yeah, it seems like we're in a happy zone for now. We'll see where it goes from here. I'll say this, let's get right to the numbers.
Oh, you're going to participate on the numbers tonight?
No,
You know what?
I'm giving you the transition.
There is a pretty interesting one though that you probably do care about.
Well,
That would,
let's hear that one
that
first,
would
and
be
then I'll hop.
crypto, Bitcoin.
Did it go over 100,000?
Not yet, but it was really well. I haven't looked recently. Let's see. Last time I looked, it was at 98 something, but it was at 99 at some point today. It's at 98,108 right now. And I think it was 99.4, 99.5, no, 90, something over 99 anyway, sometime earlier today. So that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, the crypto people are going crazy.
They're going crazy. All right. With that said, I will allow you to move on to whatever it is next that you plan to do. I think I heard you might need a nap.
Yeah, it's been an exhausting few weeks. Tesla going crazy and now lemonade.
Yeah, right. Okay, Bradford, thank you so much. And let's go ahead and take a look at those numbers. What we've got here right now is we have got a day when everything was crazy. I've never seen, really, I talked to Cern Basher. I asked him, we agreed this was a wild and crazy day, but the Dow ended up 461. It was up even more than that at one point. The NASDAQ ended up only 6, but it was down, way down, and it bounced back to up 6. S&P was also down. It ended up 31. Tesla was up, and then it was down, and then it was up, and then it was down, and it did that all day long, but not in like little swings, no, big swings. Ended up down 239 for the day. And then the Mag 7, except for NVIDIA, it was all down, but NVIDIA had been way down and way up, but ended up only up 78 cents. So Tesla wins, being down $2.39, but it was also up now 33 cents in after hours. And just for your information, in case you care, NVIDIA has lost almost all of its 78 cents. It's down 68 in the after hours. From there, we go to the bond market. And the bonds were down today. Let's see if they're continuing to be down. We have got, yes, another 1.8, I'm sorry, basis points in the pre-market, but still at the 10 years at 4.414. That's interesting. How did it end up back at 414? Well, I'd have to, anyway, still sitting there over 4.1, better than 4.5, where it was almost up to 4.5 a few days ago. So we'll take the I'm sorry, see there? See how I did that? I made a mistake, but I caught it. 4.416 right now. So we're down from where it was, but we're still way up there. And the 2-year at 4.343, down 0.6 of a basis point. Because I have lost control of my system here, I can't tell you what's happening with the 2-month and the 3-month, but I'm trying to fix it. Every day I spend a little time trying to find out what's wrong. Oil up 8 cents in the pre-market. It has now gone over $70 for the Texas Intermediate at $70.18. Natural gas, of course, which has just been exploding higher, continues to explode higher, 2.19% in the pre-market, up to $3.41. Gold, call it unchanged at 2,674 after being up again earlier today. Silver also only up 0.2 at $30.88, and copper up 0.4 at $4.11. The dollar continues up, and the Bitcoin, as I mentioned a minute ago, up 3,792 just for today, up 4 points, 4% today at 98,154. The pre-market, what is happening with the equities right now? Basically not much. So the Dow up 20 or 0.05%. I'm sorry, did I say up? Two mistakes in the same program. This is bad. Down 20 or 0.05. S&P down 6 or 0.1. And the NASDAQ is up or down, could be down. It's down 51. Let me double check, triple check. Down 51 or 0.24. So if that gives us any hint about tomorrow, maybe, maybe not. Who knows? All right. So in just a little while, at about 7:45 California time, we will have Cern Basher doing his thing. You're going to love this show. We had a ton of fun doing it, and it's very interesting, getting more and more and more into how to value a company in ways that probably you haven't seen before. And I think it'll give you some real insights, in particular into the free cash flow aspect. But there's way more in the show than just that. Anyway, check Cern Basher out about 7:45 tonight. And then tomorrow morning, basically, it looks to me like tomorrow, actually, Larry Goldberg. And then at night, the 7:45 show will be Brian Wong. Okay, so be sure to stay tuned for all that. I wanted to mention that if you're looking for Christmas gifts, don't forget that the Elon Musk method, okay, is absolutely as up to date as yesterday. And if you have anybody in your family who's thinking about starting a business or who owns a business of any size, this is a phenomenal, well, okay, it's phenomenal because it's about Elon Musk. And how much better can you do than to emulate Elon Musk as an entrepreneur? So that would be something you might consider for a member of the family who is entrepreneurial. If you can buy it on Amazon for almost nothing, I want to say $9.95 or $12.95. I don't remember. It's been too long since I've looked at it. But if you want to buy it directly from me, you can go paypal.me/Randy Kirk and send me $25. I'll send you an autographed edition, including freight, everything all included. And that $25 is the same price, whether it's the Elon Musk method, whether it is the Elon Musk mission, or whether it is a Cybertruck. And if you make any kind of combination of that bundle, then it goes down, to, let's say, $20. Any two or three, you'll have to tell me what I've just said because I'll forget. But anyway, call it, if you do at least two, like the method and the Cybertruck, it'd be $40, all included, signature, the whole number, okay, for $40. Hey, it might be a good thing. And thanks already, orders coming in for the Cybertruck. That has been very nice. And it's time. It's the time to do it right now while you're thinking about it. Go on down and take a look in the description below. That's all I got for you right now. See you tomorrow. It's been great talking to you.